All right, let's get her going. Real Kyper and Bourne show, Leaf edition. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sam McKee, Derek Brandeo, Jake the Snake Schultz. Yeah, you left a book outside, and Jeff Blair's saying, he thought maybe you had forgotten it or something.
No, I just had read it, and now it's free to the public. Anyone can have it.
Not really.
Not entirely true, but it's still free to the public.
No, it's not. Look at our chat line. I sent you a picture.
Oh, what did you
do?
Book. What did you do? You have money on it now.
What's that? read the sign.
Free. Actually changed my mind. $10, Justin Bourne.
Yes, I fixed your sign.
It's not the first time in our career that I've said something is free, and you said you can't do that for free.
I've been working with you for 4 years, trying to get you to understand value.
You really have.
And your value.
And I'm grateful for that.
But your first instinct is free.
Maybe I don't respect myself. Is this a therapy session? Is this a therapy intervention we're having?
I think $10 for that book is a good deal.
It's, 30% of
what is it? $40
price.
Or 30 or $40?
Thanks. Yeah, I don't even know.
What's a book cost?
I think $35 for it. Justin Bourne's book was $36 for the hardcover.
Last book I bought was your book.
For those of you that forget, we are live on Sportsnet 590, The Fan. Sometimes I forget that. Yeah. Sometimes our conversations, like the one we just had 30 seconds ago, can prove that we forget sometimes.
Right. Good start.
We're also on Sportsnet 360 and Sportsnet Plus.
Yes.
All right. Great show today. Gord Stellick will join us in about half an hour.
Awesome.
And then at 5 p.m. when we go national, we go deep in the valley. Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers, MSG, and will be breaking us down what he's seen in the first few games out of certain goaltenders, including Joseph Woll.
Hasn't seen much out of him.
Stolarz.
Yeah.
And the Hildebeest.
And everyone else around the league. We got Ullmark showing up in Ottawa. The Valley has lots of stuff for us. So I always look forward to those conversations.
So, Sammy, I take it Kyper's Clippers might be a little dry today, or did Coach Berube talk?
Dry as a bone. So
Coach Berube did talk.
I did.
And it's dry as a bone.
I will say that I came to the realization today when I arrived at the office around noon. What a life, by the way. Just showing up, waking up at the crack of 8 a.m. every day, showing up to work at noon. Great life. But that we are maybe going to have to get a little bit creative with our first segments. Because, like we talked about last week when the Leafs played the Devils, Sheldon Keefe did a lot of our work for us in terms of providing, 10 to 15 minutes every morning of him talking about stuff. And us. Berube talked for 2:40 today. Half of it was updates on Willie feeling sick, so he's on a practice. John Tavares is feeling better, so he's at practice. Looked a little lethargic because he was sick. And then talked about Jo Woll. Made a weird comment about the power play drill that they were doing that's really not visual. And then here we are. Max Pacioretty likes to shoot. That's why he'd be good on a power play. And that was the breakdown of what he had to say today.
Okay. Thank you for the AI summary of...
So we had an orthopedic surgeon on last week, Dr. Jason Smith. Do we need to get a flu doctor?
Maybe.
Just to break down, what are the signs here?
Doctor?
Could be.
Doctor.
The signs of runny nose. What else can we look forward to?
Seems like they got some issues. It's going through the clubhouse right now. But yeah, Nylander absent. Hopefully he's available tomorrow. JT's back.
Yeah.
So did you have one clip that excited you?
No. But I got one clip. It didn't excite me, but it's a clip.
Right.
It's about Joseph Woll, which is the great mystery and one of the only things that really came out of practice here. So, Derek, if we can listen to the clip from Berube on Jo Woll.
Yeah, he's improving. I think he went out there again on the ice today. No issues after yesterday on the ice, which is great news. So, there's a good chance he could be with us in practice tomorrow morning.
Good chance he could be in practice. Doesn't sound like good chance he's playing in the hockey match.
I saw David Alter sent out a tweet about it saying that he doesn't appear close to returning. And Woll was on the ice with goaltender coach Curtis Sanford, but didn't field any hockey shots. No shots with the puck towards him, but he was on the ice. So
Ooh.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound
Thrilling.
great.
So it's clear that even if he gets a pain-free practice on Tuesday, it's not enough to start him on Wednesday.
No.
But take a look at the schedule past
So much
that
hockey
because
coming
it
up.
goes, it's quiet this week for the Leafs, which you can tell by the energy of our show.
Hey, no. Let's stir it up in here. How about that Marner contract?
Listen, we got the first ever edition of True or False coming up here.
We
So,
do.
I invented this game today, and it's very, very high, IQ invention by your boy over here. True or false questions. But
It's
we
all
have the
Kip and I
first
can
ever
handle.
edition.
So,
All right.
judging by your hat,
Yeah.
you most definitely watched the football game last night.
Not a ton of it, to be honest.
And now you thought about this game like 3 hours ago.
Yes.
That's what you're telling me.
What-
That's the prep that you put into
You know
it.
when I did think of this, when I thought of it, when I went on our wonderful Sportsnet website and I pulled the audio from Craig Berube and saw that he spoke for 2 minutes, I'm like, well,
Here we go.
we're gonna need a game.
Time to
we're
rev
gonna
up
need
the
we're
old
gonna
creativity engine.
So I recreated it about 2 hours ago. So yeah, but before we get into it, like you're talking about next week, they play Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday next week. They're gonna need.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Ooh, it's a great week for.
So is Stolarz going to
boys.
play 3 of the games? Because it's pretty obvious he plays tomorrow, he plays Saturday, and then how do they break it up?
he'll play Wednesday, Saturday, and then one of Monday, Tuesday,
Mhm.
and then Woll's got to be back by then. By Monday, Tuesday, he's got to be back.
Okay.
Right? He's on the ice. He's practicing. He's feeling good. Give him a few days here.
So this Saturday, Rangers,
Yeah.
no Wall.
No.
I mean, if he's still not taking shots, even Kip.
No. He might practice tomorrow.
Okay. And so if he takes shots tomorrow,
If he
yeah,
is-
sure.
If he's
Is that how you want to
full
start him against one of the best offenses in the league on Hockey Night in Canada?
Saturday night at home, yeah,
Okay.
why not?
No, you're right. There's no good time to start. Get going.
Stolarz both games this week for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Regardless, he's been good. He's played. They have Wednesday and then Saturday. I think he can play those 2 games, and then you figure it out next week.
Yeah.
So then Monday night is against Tampa, and then Tuesday's in Columbus on the second half of back-to-back. To me, that's a good spot for either Hildeby or Wall in the second half of the back-to-back against Columbus, and then you go from there. So,
Okay.
there you go.
That sounds good.
Goaltending.
We do have one other clip. Max Pacioretty weighed in on the comments that Sam made, the power play.
Mm.
Are you interested in what Max has to say about that?
We do. Do we want to just mention quickly what the power play now looks like with Tavares back in?
Yes. Let's do it.
All right.
But then it's hard because Nylander was away again today. So then you don't really know fully what it's going to look like. But yeah.
Today at practice is OEL at the top, Matthews, Marner, Pacioretty, Tavares. So gotta believe Patches is in for Nylander there, and just OEL in for Riley is the switch. But I am interested that Tavares is back there and Nyes is not. I do feel Berube falling in love with Nyes. Let's listen to what Max Pacioretty has to say about that.
I mean, there's some chances, and then you get frustrated and you probably overcomplicate things, and it's just a matter of, good players trying to make a difference, great players trying to make a difference, but, the skill on this power play, it's bound to happen. It's going to come. And then once it does come, confidence takes over and goals start pouring in. So while, I'm being asked about this, it's really not a concern in my mind in the sense where I know what we have in this room, and these are some of the most elite players in the world, and it's going to come.
Boy,
I think
Patches knows how to love the boys up in the media, doesn't
he was going to say, this is the best I've ever seen. And then he stopped it. He was.
Yeah, for
if you
sure.
go back and listen to that clip, he was about to say, this is the best I've ever seen.
Or ever been a part of.
Or ever been a part of. And then he was like, wow, I already said that it was the hardest group I've ever been a part of. And already
Played
it's
with
the best
Ovi
group
last
ever.
year, yeah.
Like, I think he maybe caught himself a little
He
bit.
wants to
Yeah,
be positive for the boys.
He's excited. He's happy to be here.
But
yeah.
it is
Or he's a
kind of
politician.
tricky now for Berube because I think the intent all along is to get a second unit feeling like they're not on Team B, which he's been able to do.
Yeah.
I think, the likes of Nick Robertson and few others have had ample opportunity on a power play that they never saw the light of day, really, with Sheldon.
Mhm.
But the tricky part moving forward now is finding a way to get the big boys going and maintaining that. Because the longer they go with the struggling power play, the less chance you have of pulling them off the ice after 50 seconds.
What do you mean? The longer they go with it?
Yeah, the longer they struggle, the more they're going to want to stay out there for one more rush.
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
what's been a hard 50, 55 seconds in coming off,
Yeah.
you run the risk of one of them
yeah.
saying, listen,
We got to get one.
I'm feeling the heat right now. I mean, I'm making 13, 12 sheets, 11 sheets here, and I got to put a puck in the net here.
The Leafs power play is one of 3 or 4 teams that has 0 goals so far. They haven't shot one in yet. But to me, the Craig Berube coming here was going to be all about actual merit, actual rewards and punishment based on what happens.
That's great to say, but it doesn't really work that way.
Well, then what are we doing?
No.
Then you should have kept Keith.
Yeah.
No. You're right. It is, but you also look at a guy again
You
who's
gotta get your
making
stars going.
You got to get your stars going, and
Yeah.
you got to be sympathetic to them a little bit of the pressure that they feel making so much money, and you're gonna. There's a gray area there somewhere. That's all I'm saying, is that you're kind of caught between the message that you're trying to send, as you had just alluded to, and the one that says, okay, just maybe another 15 seconds because you're it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to be the guys that are leading this charge on this power play.
Do you think Morgan Riley would be pissed about Game 4? He's already off the power play. Do you think he feels misunderstood, wronged?
I think it's just happened so often now. He's learned how to manage it, and how many times have they come back to him?
Yeah. He's like, you'll be back. You'll come crawling, just like the rest of them.
Crawling.
You'll come crawling back to me.
This is a perfect spot to go with true or false.
Whoa.
Here's a question for you. Okay.
How many you got of these?
I got a bunch. More than we need, but I got a bunch.
Okay, I go
spent-
7 trues and 3
This
falses.
is how Kip
Okay.
did school. There's no
Okay.
one here to take this for you.
The first one is, will the Leafs finish the season with a top 5 power play unit in the league?
That's
Is
not
that true or false?
at all.
True or false?
Okay, they'll finish the top 5 power play this year. False.
They were 7th last year.
I'll go 6th this year.
6th. So false. Wow.
Such a cop-out.
False.
I just think they'll catch fire at some point here, and it'll be good enough to get them into the top 5. They're always floating around it. And
Really, you go 2 for 3 tomorrow night,
Yes.
and you're like right on track.
yes.
OEL will have to be that guy then.
Yeah.
For that to happen.
Yeah, and I think he is, don't you? Like, I really.
Oh, I haven't seen enough of it to definitively say that
Yeah.
they're
The one
they're
wild
going to
card.
be a top 5. I haven't seen enough of it.
The one
and-
wild card for me is Nyes. Is Nyes what Nyes going to be this year? Is he going to be disappointing where he gets 46 points and, is just this strong guy? Or does he become a guy that they get the puck to in front of the net? He's been a finisher in his life. Like, if he becomes a presence on the power play, they could get there.
Okay. Second question.
Second question. Top 5 PP, both Kip and I on false.
Okay. Max Pacioretty gets both of his bonuses this year after 9 games and after 35 games.
Great question. Oh, that's great producing.
Thank you.
So he makes, is it 300 grand?
I think so, yeah.
313 grand for playing 10 and 313 more for playing 35. Those are his
Yeah.
contract bonuses, which will go against next year's salary cap, which they don't want to pay him unless they're getting value. Thus far,
Yeah.
is he going to get in 35 hockey games?
Yeah,
10
I
hockey
think
games.
I think the team's strong enough that he could kind of ride this out all season.
I don't like the implication there. You don't think he's going to play well? He's just the team's
I
good
think
enough
there's
that
going
he
to be
can
some
hide?
nights he's just going to be,
Yeah.
not great, but I think the the lineup again is strong enough that he can find a way to chip in, I don't know, 10, 15 goals.
I also
which keeps him around and keeps him hitting those benchmarks.
I think yes. I think I agree with you that he does get there. I feel like they're looking to have a layer of scoring past the big four guys.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, he kind of does the right things in a way that a veteran coach would keep him around.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, he's got that sense to shoot in 10 or 15 over the course of the year.
One of the clips we didn't get to yesterday was Berube talking about Pacioretty's start to the season. So we have it. We can play it, and then you guys can listen off of what he says here. Here you go.
A little up and down, but overall not bad. Like, I mean, he got a big goal in Jersey, which was good. That's, his bread and butter around the net and scoring goals and things like that. They're like the last game, I thought that him, Holmberg, and McMahon had a good third period in that game, just with their strength down low in the offensive zone and killing time, hanging on the pucks, creating, a couple opportunities here and there. Nothing too great, but it was, possessing time in the offensive zone with their big bodies. So that, that's got to be a big part of his game.
Ooh. So
does that clip
do
change
you
your
have
true or false?
Do you have a true or false around Nick Robertson?
I do have an
because it ties into Max Pacioretty for me.
Okay, I will say that he said little up and down is interesting to me because game 3, he's willing to criticize him this early. Means he's not, unimpeachable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm torn on the 35 games. Do like 67, 29, 74. Go ahead for Nick Robertson.
Nick Robertson finishes the season as a Maple Leaf. True or false?
False for me.
God, these are good.
Thank you. False.
False.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and I go back to if he feels like, if I feel like Pacioretty's going to stick around, and if Berube's going to be that guy that says, some good, some bad out of Pacioretty, then that lends me to believe that he's more up to play like 50 games or 60 games. And, I get a sense that between him and Nick Robertson, that they might go back and forth if everybody's healthy.
I feel like, this organization had what a lot of people looked at from the outside and went, there's just a bunch of guys there. There's Kerfoot and there's Robertson and there's Liljegren and all these kind of just whatever parts. And, you watch them enough and you appreciate some little things they do. But I can see Berube coming in being like, don't need that. Don't need that.
And I don't know if you can just listen to what he thought when Berube just spoke moments ago about Pacioretty, about down low, holding onto the puck.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And, creating... He wouldn't talk about just him shooting the puck in the net.
No, like if it's not, they're not shooting it in, they have it down there. They're heavy.
They're big. They can control. They can protect. That doesn't fit into like a Nick Robertson.
Robertson legitimately needs to be a 25 goal
It
scorer.
really, for me, it just comes back at the end of the day. I think the guy on a lot of shifts has the heart of a lion.
He does.
But he's still light.
And he also started the year not wanting to be here, right? He asked for a trade.
And I believe that deep
both
down,
parties are like,
he still wants out.
Oh, for sure. He just wants to play. If I'm Nick Robertson, put me in the worst team in the league. I want to be an NHLer who's relied upon, who scores.
And he could, like, on an Anaheim, on a Columbus, he could
I'd take a flyer on him if I were one of
be
those
left
teams.
alone for 15, 20 games, and lo and behold, you can look up and maybe see him
have a hat trick one night.
potted in like
Sudden
7 or 8 goals in 20 games.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I don't know if it's going to happen here.
So
better happen soon.
both false on Nick Robertson.
They're both false.
Okay. This is Joseph Woll. This is looking way down the road.
Okay, can I just finish though?
Yes, please.
Like, again, credit to the Leafs and Nick Robertson for turning himself into like an asset, right? There's something there. Can you package it with a Liljegren? Can you throw in a draft pick and turn it into something else? Maybe not today or tomorrow, but come American Thanksgiving, when teams figure out they need some scoring, is when I think he becomes a little bit more valuable of an asset.
And credit to you for the Hannibal Buress meme that Nick Robertson was at his all-time trade value at the end of preseason. Why are you booing me? I'm right.
Trade him. And now it's like, how many? It's 3 games. Hasn't been awesome. Hasn't scored yet. It's like, well, he's starting to turn back into Nick Robertson.
Rick Nobertson, his evil twin.
Yeah. Joseph Woll. Joseph Woll starts game 1 for the playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
True. Easy true for me.
Yeah.
Ooh, you're torn. That's how good these are.
I'm going false for sure.
Ooh, we haven't been getting your opinion on these.
I know, but I just the reason I asked this is because it's impossible to depend on him. It's impossible to depend on him.
It is,
Wow,
but
it's
if he's available, then
Yeah, but
you're betting against his injury.
100%.
Yeah, I do believe I'm gonna say yes only because I think
That's not. It's true. Say true.
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 I think it's still true because that's where the focus and the push has been all along here.
Yes, be healthy. Right? And,
So-
and for him to be the guy, they
Yes.
gave him the 11 schmil. He's the younger guy. He's the guy they've developed. He's technically sound.
Yes.
He was-
Yes.
Save percentage in playoffs is through the roof. He's been awesome.
Okay.
When he's there.
Jake McCabe signs new long-term contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs before the end of the season.
Yes. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. I heard they made great progress. The only thing was, again, could you figure out term? How many years does he want? 6? Does he want
Can't be
5?
Sure.
6 is
asinine.
that gets me a little. I get a
I'm
little
just-
squirmy.
Is
at
it
6.
4? Is it 4?
Was he
But-
31 or
but
32?
No,
four
not
moves
even.
the AAV
Yeah,
up,
he is
guys, right? 4 moves the AAV up. That's the problem. So, if I told you,
Just turned 31 2 days
if I
ago.
told you this time last year or this time or at Christmas that Chris Tanev was good, the Leafs were going to sign him to what did he end up getting? 6 years?
Yes,
Was
he
it-
did.
Yeah,
Yes, he did.
He did.
You
but it
would have
was-
looked at me like I had 3 heads.
And I did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but
that's-
but
that's
bad
the way it works.
contracts don't make other contracts good. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, just because that's silly doesn't mean silliness over here isn't silly. It's just more silliness.
it's
Listen, I also would like to say I love Jake McCabe. I
Yeah.
think he's perfect for the
Yeah.
Leafs. Love the way
Yeah.
he plays, competitive. I love his upside all around.
But
and
you-
I think
you-
he has great years ahead.
you
6
know
is long.
like he can get $5 million with his eyes closed.
On the open market,
Yeah, on the open market,
no doubt,
right?
no doubt about it.
So, what are you willing to pay him for 4, 5, or 6 years?
So you're right. So is it 4 times 7, but we'll do 6 times 5, 6 times 5.5?
Yeah, that's the way they're thinking.
Yeah.
So, I would believe that it's just a matter of structure right now, and we know money matters to this hockey club.
And then put a letter on his sweater, will you?
So judging by your answer, true.
True.
You're true.
True.
Yes.
Okay.
We're actually in lockstep here, Kip and I, which is not like us.
Austin Matthews ends the season with over 50 goals.
True.
Yeah, true.
Easy. Chris Tanev is the most important Leaf signing since John Tavares. Free agent signing, I should say. For the Leafs.
TJ Brody was very helpful. Who else did they sign as a free agent to even compete with that? I mean,
Give me a list.
I mean, you guys cover the Leafs. You know, like,
yeah,
I
but
don't
neither of us
know.
have
I
good
can't-
short-term memory. We've both been hitting the
let
head
me,
too many
let me,
times.
let me, I'm going to Google free agent signings for the Leafs here. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like you guys would be good.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Like the biggest one has to be
And
Brody
Tanev
by
and
dollars.
OEL, like you can see it. Like in those first few games, you can see
Michael Bunting.
that that they've made a big difference.
Yeah.
For me, like even watching them up against New Jersey, where it's like would have been hairy last year or the year before, right? And now it just seems like being up 3-1 with Craig Bruby's system of north-south lends
Couple of
A-
grown-ups on the back end,
a
adults
better
in the room.
a better protection strategy.
Yeah, no, it does. It feels safer, and
And
I've had
it's built
that,
right into
that.
them.
By the way, if you talk to Leafs fans right now, that is the one theme I'm picking up. Is a lot of people just saying they feel better about the team, like they don't feel like it's built on, stilts on the beach or something. It's a little more cement base here.
Stilts on the beach. That's really good. Never heard that before.
Yeah.
You heard that one before?
I just made it up.
You did?
Yes.
Wow. That's pretty good. Just as good as true or false.
True or false is wonderful.
Last one I got.
All right.
This is a good one for the last one. Mitch Marner will sign a new contract at the end of before the end of the season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. True or false?
You would. You absolutely would.
Yeah.
True.
False.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
False.
False.
Wow.
False.
Wow. That's
Marner.
an exciting one.
False.
Okay.
I think
For our opinions on this, please check out Monday's show.
Yesterday's show.
Yesterday, Monday?
Yeah.
No, yes.
Yesterday was Monday. Yeah.
Check it out from 4:10 to 4:25. You can listen to us have this conversation.
all right, so you are comfortable if he signs long term?
What's comfortable? I'm not comfortable with him leaving for nothing.
I'm squirming regardless of what the contract looks like, but I'd rather have it than nothing.
Have you ever thought about him signing like in January and then the Leafs lose in the first round where you left?
He's Bagels. He's Sam
Where's
Mitchell
Sammy?
across the board.
Yeah.
Sammy's a
Zero,
puddle, man. We're
zero.
checking
Yeah,
Sammy
that's true.
into a clinic.
That's true.
At
if
least
he
then you have an
signs-
asset to trade when we run him out of town.
But his full no move clause is going to make that tough on the new contract.
make that hard.
Anyways, the last one seems anticlimactic, but Oliver Ekman-Larsson leads the Leafs in scoring for defensemen. Seems true. Seems a lot less. Should have just ended with the Marner one.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
True on that for me.
Okay, boys. The very first edition
Nice
of True or
job.
False. I
Nice
thought it was
job.
pretty good. Okay.
Yeah,
guys enjoyed it?
listen,
All right.
anytime Broobies, you just need that every day for the
Yeah.
next 7 months, and we're in the clear.
Great stuff, guys. So there you go.
Okay, true or false? I mentioned Dante's Fiesta when Gord Stellick returns after the show, after
It's
the break.
gonna be true.
That is the lock of all locks.
With
minus
extra
500.
peppers. Gord Stellick, analyst for Sportsnet 590 The Fan, former general manager of the Leafs. Coming up next, more Real Kyper and Bourne after these words. Welcome back to the Leaf edition.
Yes,
That's for Justin Bourne's followers.
I get a
Leaf
lot
edition.
of tweets like, you guys talk a lot about the Leafs. It's like the show's about the Leafs.
In Toronto.
The next hour is broadcast nationally, but not this one. This is Leafs.
Where we
Day.
seldom,
We're in the Rockies. Duh.
where we seldom mention the Leafs
Yeah, that's right.
until
The
Sammy
second
brings
hour,
them
we
up.
try to avoid
They
this.
hate us because they
There you
ain't us.
Thanks for listening, though.
All right, true or false? Gord Stellick's like the best guest we've ever had on the Real Kyper and Bourne
True.
show. True?
True.
He's the guy.
Let's ask him.
Looking great, too.
Let's welcome him in. The lovely, the talented. Put your hands together for the lovely Gord Stellick. How are you, pal?
I am outstanding. How are you guys doing? Happy post-Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yeah, it was a good one for you.
No, I worked a bit. I got to be honest. You guys have both been in the States. We get ripped off here. The American Thanksgiving's a million times better.
Oh, so much.
As I said, happy Thanksgiving, but I'm lacking sincerity. How about that?
I love being in Canada and being Canadian. Americans do Thanksgiving right. It's a day with a day in between and parades and football. We got to work on that, Canada.
So I take it you're not one of those guests that just raced at the last second to put your earphones on and join the show. You were actually listening to our show the last 25 minutes or so.
I've been listening since 1 o'clock. I get very excited with the chance to come on.
We did a segment of true and false where, Sammy thought about it maybe half an hour before the show. And I got to say,
Right.
probably the best idea he's ever come up with in 4 years.
True.
Low bar, I
True.
guess.
True. You want to take a crack at a couple?
Why not? Let's go. True or false? Yeah.
Oh, I got to go here?
Well,
Yeah.
we're going to
Okay.
add his
Yeah.
name to the list.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
answers
Well,
here.
which one do you want? Which one do you think was the best question, guys? You have to praise me here. What do you think was the best
Wow,
question?
you know which one I want out of him.
Marner?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mitch Marner signs a contract before the end of the season with the Toronto Maple Leafs. True or false, Gordo?
False.
Jeez.
Wow. Okay. Give us the reason.
I'll take potpourri for 40, please.
Take Paul in the block.
Yes.
Why?
Why? What's the point?
For Mitch?
What's it, let's see. He's the Kawhi Leonard this year. Let's find out. If they go big in the playoffs there, he can get a king's ransom anywhere. I don't know. I mean, what's the number? He wants the big enchilada. If he's willing to, and I don't fault him for going hard for whatever the number is, but if he wants to come close and equaling Austin Matthews, that's a little bit problematic getting all that in place. So I want him back. Don't get me wrong, but whatever. I just have a feeling this one's going to go down the wire. It went down to the wire last time, but he was a restricted free agent compared to unrestricted.
JB, you still buy into the don't lose an asset for nothing?
Yeah. Yep. I'm still on team.
Keep cap space.
What's
you
that?
Get cap space.
You do. I just think it's really hard to spend that in a better way in the UFA market. I just think it's hard,
Yeah. No, it's two different things. There's no question. You want the player.
Mm-hmm.
You want the player. But this, this problem has become because they've acquiesced every time when everybody wants top dollar. And you look at the Dallas Stars, and I don't want to get into the no state tax and all that stuff. You play up here, you're getting American money. You're getting like 40% on your dollar, 40 cents. So whatever. I just mean things have fallen in line in certain situations in a salary structure. And here, you can't be on the high end, the total high end forever. And of course, with Tavares coming off, it does give you some flexibility. But anyway, I thought I'd mix it up a bit. Why not?
There you go. Mine is not a true or false question, but want to get your thoughts on a personality the Leafs have acquired here in Steven Lorentz. Really, proud to be a Leaf, a big personality off the ice. Give us the history of guys like that here in Toronto. People come in, David Clarkson wanted to be a man of the people and wanted it to go his way. It doesn't always go your way when you start out like that. What are your expectations for how it's going to play out for Lorentz and the Leafs here?
Well, I love it. It's kind of like a poor man Zach Hyman, in that Zach Hyman was the local guy that came with what we thought was a different role, but very quickly found a much bigger role. I'm not saying Steve Lorentz or Lawrence. I know it's been pronounced both ways, but
you can't go wrong.
We brought in Wayne Simmons, Joe Thornton, these kind of people, Matt Martin, whatever, just a lot of more veteran guys to fill in your third and fourth lines, and not local guys. I mean, Simmons was a local guy, but kind of a bit older, different kind of role. So I like that. The third and fourth lines have constantly been changing every year, and you want to get a little bit of an identity. I mean, teams like Boston have had a consistency to those lines over the years. So I think he's been the perfect kind of fit. And I always think, like Kippy knows, if you have a Stanley Cup ring, there's an intangible part about it's not the be all and end all, but there's an intangible part about those guys that have experienced it and gone all the way. That's a plus to your hockey team.
I totally agree. Being around it, being part of the process, even if it was a
Do you
limited
see yourself
role.
in him?
Sure, but obviously on this hockey club, like right from the get-go, he's getting much more of an opportunity than a token fourth line 7 minutes. I believe he was up to 15 last game.
Yeah.
Which he also led the first PK on many occasions. So this guy, it's clear Berube can move him up and down depending on what he sees out of his opponents. But there's a comfort zone there that I think this hockey club still looks at him and goes, this is found money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a different era, but Mason Raymond had that 1 year that he could play on any line here. And he got the big contract in Calgary, and he never really, parlayed it into how. But just that kind of flexibility and being able to play different lines, play certain roles. And I think that Kippy, and Justin, that's significant. And that's a bit of a different option. I also liked last game that Pontus Holmberg got moved up, but after the first period, he had a very tough first period against Pittsburgh. Very quickly, they flipped in with Max Domi, and Max Domi, like in the first minute, courtesy of a bad line change by Evgeny Malkin, really, but whatever, came out and capitalized getting the puck to Nylander. And I'm liking that fluidity and that kind of versatility, and not putting it in a blender, having some thought and reason and strategy about how to maybe mix the lines up, deploy them, have some different looks.
We talked a little bit before the break about what Chris Tanev has done for the back end, and I feel like we haven't talked about that addition enough and how it's changed what it is the Leafs look and feel like a little bit. You know, it's Morgan Rielly has always kind of been there for them, but do you feel like Tanev is going to become their Mr. Reliability? Is this like the guy who just, again, isn't in the conversation so much, but actually changes the material makeup of the core, something we've talked about for years, they haven't been able to change?
Yeah, and as we look at, Timothy Liljegren, another defenseman, doesn't look like he's going to be developed from within. And Rasmus Sandin's already got traded last year. I mean, all these forwards keep coming up and nobody on the D side. And, Justin Hall has a good year and then falls down. Brody kind of at the end fell down.
Mm-hmm.
You'd like to maybe have had a Joel Edmondson's type here a little bit longer. But so Justin, I agree that there's a little more bite. They spent a little bit more money on him. He does all the team things well, the physicality, the blocking shots, the fearlessness, the guy that was not the flashy star. He was never drafted, took the long route, both the Tanev brothers to come. So I think it's a very welcome different spice on a D core that every year, you're excited about the forwards. You're hoping the goaltender stayed healthy. And then you're kind of worried about the depth of the D. And there is maybe reason to worry about the depth of the D. But I consider him like a really, really blue chip ad.
Mm-hmm.
For Tanev to look even better, does that mean that Morgan Rielly should start looking again as a 60 or 70 point guy like he was, I don't know, three seasons ago, 4 seasons ago? Like, how important is it that Morgan goes back to being that guy?
Yeah, big time. I think because every team needs that, and you seem to maybe have a 1B that I don't know if Oliver Ekman-Larsson, you view him as competition or it just helps to take some, add to some of the D or some of the offense from the D side. But I'm really big on Morgan Rielly, Kyper, and Justin. Quite frankly, if you would have asked me a year or two ago who should be captain, I would have said him. Would have been my choice. I don't have any quibble with John Tavares or Austin Matthews, but he's the one guy that is the oldest guy of that group that really have found a comfort zone here. Like Nylander, I believe Marner has to a different degree, but Austin Matthews and there's just a real comfort about being a Toronto Maple Leaf. But yeah, the offense a real plus. If you can get that offense, and he's had a couple of years, it's like someone who bats all of a sudden, 320 one year and then goes down to 260 the next few years when they're in the major leagues. And yeah, you'd like to get those bigger stats, and maybe this is going to be a way like that Luke Shen connection for that brief period of time was just a great connection with him that really has seemed to jive. And I think they have the opportunity for this to work on a bigger piece than just from the trade deadline on in, like it was with Shen.
Gord, you've got a unique perspective in that you've seen the Leafs for a lot of years, and the way that they've been revered in this city, the way that they've been maybe reviled at times. It's kind of, it's up and down, but there's always a lot of attention around it. I want to get your thoughts on how the best way to sell this team is now. It feels like public relations these days is quite a bit about making sure there are no bad stories rather than, getting the team out there for promotion stuff. They did recently do something, I think, at a soup kitchen, which is awesome. So I guess I want to know the difference era-wise that you've seen this Maple Leafs team, how they've been sold to the public and how they've been received.
Well, the fact is, because you get the, let's go to the grassroots, okay? In the trenches. And the difficulty and Kippy was in New York and Toronto, but I think he's a great example. Understanding here is that, okay, it's a high profile. So when you're places, you get noticed all the time. They always talk about it being a tough place to play, but you get your ass kissed unbelievably here. Like that's the thing people don't realize. Like, the fans, they're not really tough. They show up all the time, but you get your butt kissed and you get one playoff round and you kind of lose context and perspective. And I think like the difference, and I think they've ridden that too much the last number of years, that when they got eliminated by Columbus, eliminated by Montreal, it was like, oh, who's saying this crap against Mitch on social media? Why, no, you should be pissed off. How the hell did you blow those series? And I like the fact that Sheldon Keefe said, you know what, he did a hell of a job, but we didn't get to the next level. Yeah, all of them. Every one of them, Morgan Rielly, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, you have never got to the next level. And, Justin, I had this analogy, I thought a couple of years ago, that it was kind of like the teenager that the parents give him the car and he phones and says, oh, you know what? I just wrecked your car. Oh, don't worry. Don't touch it. You can drive mom's car. We'll take it in. We'll take care of it. And a week later, He wrecks mom's car. Oh, don't worry. You'll get Uncle Nicky's car. Don't just whatever. We'll take care of it. Poor you.
So
and
true.
that's what it was like after some of these playoff losses. What the hell? Come on. Don't say we turned a page and you learned. You didn't learn. That's why we're still here. Okay, it's unacceptable. And that's the kind of part. And stop kissing their ass when they get eliminated in the playoffs. You don't have to vilify them, but it's not acceptable. It's not good enough for this team, especially in 2024.
Is this why you took the bus a lot when you were a kid?
One crashed car.
There's a lot going on here, Kippy. You know that, right?
A ton.
Still waters run deep.
A ton. We were talking before you came on about a Leaf power play that has the stats to say it's a top 5, top 7 power play, but we've seen it at times, especially with this group, disappear when it was needed the most. So what do you make out of their 0 for start in the first few games on the power play? Where's your level of concern about getting this thing going?
Well, there's no question. It hasn't been very good. I put in perspective, it's 3 games. I'm very, very biased because Mark Savard did a great job broadcasting, became a great friend. And I find there's too much emphasis on assistant coaches anywhere about, whether it's a certain thing. So it's the guys on the ice that have to do it. He's a very smart guy. The way he saw the game, I really appreciated it. He really did. He's also maybe, and Kippy, about having an elite player as a coach. Like, he may be the most skilled assistant coach they've had in quite some time. Like, when we did the games, he really appreciated the Mariners and the Nylanders and all they can do and what they can bring. So I think there's a certain spice that he's going to bring to the mix, not just there, but the other things about the elite players. But it seems to be something that it goes for 6 weeks, number 1 in the league, and then it goes for 4 weeks, number 20 in the league. And unfortunately, it's been number 20 every year in the playoffs. Is again part of the problem. So part of it, get some of that consistency, whatever that level is, and have it play out in the playoffs. So you're getting more than 2 goals per game in the playoffs if you're getting that in the regular season, which I expect. So I'm not too worried about it. They got some, he's trying the quick hit, I noticed. One thing it seems like they have a bit of a set play in the first 10 seconds. They try the quick strike. I like that. That's something new.
Yep.
And then after, it seems like they're not staying on for 1:40 anymore. It seems like they're giving the second unit a little bit more time. Last game, I like that. They were only on a minute. Then when the second unit went off, they put them right back on when the penalty ended. And I think it led to a goal against the Penguins. So they're trying, there's a feeling out process going there.
Do you think, related to this, Austin Matthews has 0 points through 3 games. Do you think that's connected to trying to play differently under a Craig Berube system? Or do you think it is pure happenstance? It just hasn't gone in so far.
Pure happenstance. I mean, He was the best player on the ice, I thought, Saturday.
Yeah.
And and that's great when he can be the best player on the ice and the team wins the game and he contributes and he's not going for 70 goals. I'll take 4 playoff games like that in a playoff series that, Austin gets hardly anything, but because of the way they played, they got those 4 wins. So I actually viewed it as a positive, just that the way he went and played. And that's the whole thing now with, this year. They all know it, those kind of personal milestones, they've really all achieved them. They've achieved next contracts. They want to stay here. Let's be talking about in May, Conn Smythe Trophy consideration for being one of the top players in the playoffs, because there's not one of them that you've ever said, wow, what a great playoff by player X. Not once. So whatever it takes over these 82 games that maybe incrementally helps a bit, I'm all for.
Joseph Woll's back on the ice, Gord. The feeling that we had on our show right from the get-go, where it was kind of skewed towards Joseph Woll kind of being that guy, and I don't know what that meant for Stolarz, 25, 30, 35 games. But has this small window, this crack that Stolarz has come through so far, changed any of that moving forward here for you? Or is this still kind of leaning towards finding a way to get Joseph Woll ready?
Well, it's changed in a week because game 1, I was filling in for Ailish, and I was pretty critical at the end. Even it was a 1-0 loss to Montreal, and Samuel Montembeault had a hell of a game. But I'm looking at this Leaf team where we left them last year, and where we left them was Jo Woll couldn't play game 7, and he can't play game 1 this year. All of a sudden. And they couldn't score goals like they couldn't against Boston, so they didn't. and nobody got the David Pastrnak overtime goal against Montreal. So I viewed it, even though just like those are the kind of different things. And the one is injuries do happen, but man, oh man, if we're going through this again, I find it very disconcerting. Hopefully it's a one-off, but I really like, and we've talked about it, Anthony Stolarz was one of statistically the top goalies in the league last year. He's not a 2, he's certainly a 1B. And I like the way both of them, much earlier than we thought, embraced getting an opportunity to play goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I love Jo Woll as a goaltender, but just to not be able to start the season, even if it's a minor thing, then all of a sudden, Kippy, I'm thinking whatever games you were thinking, like for some reason, if you're thinking Jo Woll 55, then you get it down to 45. That, they really, and Stolarz, who knows? He could be the guy at the end. I mean, there's no bona fide number one guy right now in the Toronto Maple Leafs as big as I am on Jo Woll. Mm-hmm. It's not something he's gone out and claimed yet.
One last true and false before we let you go. Do you dream about eating a Dante's Fiesta?
I don't know where Dante's has gone. Yeah, but you know what, Kippy? I'm doing a little better. I would have the Fiesta, about half or a third, and the rest I'd have in the fridge. And, it would last a few more days. Unlike my Sportsnet days in the boardroom where I felt, whatever was on the plate, I had to eat. And then you guys covered me on the panel as I sat there bloated.
But you were looking great, by the way. I'm
feeling great.
I would never do that to you.
We'll see you Friday, right, Gord?
Where are the clubs? Let's go clubbing.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, Gordo, thanks for doing this, pal.
Thanks, Gordo.
See you guys.
That is the one, the only, Gord Stellick.
Mm-hmm. On fire today.
On fire.
Ironically.
He's buying into my, come on, let's go win a round. Go big or go home on whether you want to move forward with Mitch Marner, Willie Nylander, and Austin Matthews still together.
Mm. It's a terrible idea.
True or false, Sam Bennett plays for the Leafs next year?
I don't know. What are they going to do if it works or it doesn't work? It sucks after that. You have to pay more money if it works and less if it does. It's gone. Yeah.
The other one I had was true or false, Timothy Lillard plays a playoff game for the Leafs this year.
Oh, my God. What's beyond false?
No, I think that ship has sailed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Getting back in Wednesday, big debut.
Yeah, I actually, listen, I think he's a fine player. I don't mean this to be disparaging the hockey player. He makes $3 million, and they don't play him in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So, fine player. They just doesn't work here at that cap hit for this coach.
What are they going to do when Yarncrocs eligible and
they're gonna
Mr. Doers
around?
Yeah, no, they got to juggle. Yeah, they got to trim.
Somebody will get banged up.
Jeff Galooly's coming through the dressing room, taking out knees and creating cap space at some point.
Well, boys, I would say, if I do say so myself, for not having much to talk about today, we had a good Leafs hour.
We did.
Thanks to you.
Wow. I am the producer.
Okay, and just one note on that Buffalo Bills game last night against the Jets.
Yeah.
Okay, can we run one play without a penalty?
Oh, it was painful.
Come on.
Jets in the red zone were a disaster.
It was a good Monday. Amazon had their game of the week, first one ever, but Monday Night Football.
Great.
Yankees.
I can't wait. I guess there's a couple hockey games.
Kind of a fun sport night.
Tonight on Sportsnet is just a unencumbered baseball playoff game. Yankees Guardians game 2 on Sportsnet.
And let me interrupt that.
Sportsnet one has the Raptors.
Hockey Central at 6:30. We got the Oilers tonight. You got the Canucks tonight. You got the Flames tonight.
Those are late ones.
Sportsnet hockey.
Unencumbered playoff baseball is what I'm telling you right now tonight. Get the feet up.
You do you.
Oh, yeah.
National Hour, do we guess if the Oilers go 0 for 4 or not?
Oh, my God. It's the biggest game. It's such a big game.
By 11.
Must win tonight. Must win.
All right, don't go away. Because like I said earlier, we're going deep in the valley.
So weird.
Steve Valiquette. Is that a movie or something? Where am I getting that from?
I don't know, buddy.
Not sure exactly, but it's the start of a title of a segment, which we need to work on.
True or false? Good name for a title.
Steve Valiquette. When we return to the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, don't you dare move. All right, let's take it national on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne is brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. In a few minutes, we'll welcome in Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG, and a great guest that we've always enjoyed having on the show because he just breaks it down a little differently on our program. And first and foremost, the view of the goaltender from his perspective is fascinating for me every time we have him on the show.
Yeah, always learn a lot. And since it's a professed area of weakness for us, neither of us are goalies. Good to have a true pro on the show to help us out.
You've got the Oilers tonight, right, on Sportsnet?
Yeah, I'm on with DA and Cosentino. We'll have a little pre-show talking Oilers Flyers. Oilers trying to stave off a fourth straight loss. We got Canucks.
Clearly, it's like the cobwebs are gone now.
Is it clear?
You tell me.
I don't know that that's clear. They started the season killing 1 of 6 penalties they took. They gave up 5 goals in their first 6 penalty kills. Not sure if you remember last year in the postseason, they killed 94.6% of penalties. They lost Cody Ceci, Ryan McLeod, Fogle, like a lot of their main killers. So that is a genuine area of concern. And then, they killed 3 off last game. They're not going to be a 50% kill team, but it could be an area where they are worse than last year is the penalty kill. So something to keep an eye on tonight.
Must win.
No, it's not.
It is a
Don't
must
throw that
win.
out.
Are you kidding me?
After 3 games?
Are you being serious?
It's a must win.
Or what?
How many times did we say that and
guys were
look
doing
like
that in November.
idiots last year for
Listen,
them?
I am an idiot. Must win. Must win. You go 0-4, everything is like Knobloch's looking over his shoulder. Everyone's sour.
Everyone's already sour.
Must win. If you can't beat the Philadelphia Flyers tonight, you're in trouble.
There is
You're in trouble.
No less of a must win for an 0-3 team than this
You
one.
guys are nuts. You guys shouldn't do radio.
The world is
They are
ending.
clearly feeling it, though.
Yes.
Well, sure.
Like
It's not like they've lost 2-1 in overtime 3 times.
but the goal differential at home.
It's literally the
Three
worst.
Home games -12
Is it the worst in the NHL?
by double.
Yeah.
Second worst is -6. Or that was the Avs till the Isles lit them up last night.
Yeah. Must win.
Avs and Oilers getting shellacked, which I don't think anyone predicted.
Later on the show, do we have sound of Cale Makar
We
as
do.
well?
We do. We do have that.
I found, well, we'll save it, but
Yeah.
I just found his comments absolutely fascinating last night after the
Hard
game.
on himself,
Well,
eh?
Don't give it away.
Okay.
We'll get into that with
Maybe he wasn't.
news and notes.
Stay
but
tuned.
common theme amongst the Avs and the Oilers is whether or not they're getting the saves also when they're supposed to. We'll have Steve Valiquette join us in a few minutes. But as far as the Avs concerned, like Gorgiev, patience may be running thin.
Think so? And then Justice Ananen. Justice. It's a great name.
Did you see that goal last night? Like the diving poke check? What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. They're struggling. But I will say, you look at their back end, it's like the Oilers for me where the other – yeah, hold on. We'll address that later. We have our guest.
All right, Steve Valiquette.
What's going on, boys? How are we?
I mentioned to these guys that we're going deep, deep, deep into the valley with Steve Valiquette. And they looked
We're
at
working on the segment name here, Valley.
They cringed when they heard me say it. Thanks for joining us again. As fascinating as anything that we've seen is the storylines around certain goaltenders. And obviously here in Toronto, the Joseph Woll not feeling right to start the season. And then we see Ullmark not play the other night in a crazy 8-7 final against the LA Kings. And I think the term before the game was tightness, which turned into maybe a strain afterwards. But, like, what is your first thoughts when either a goalie goes up to a team and says, I'm not feeling right, and then the team has really no choice, do they not, to go from there?
Well, you can't say much when you're on the team side. You have to take the player's opinion, view, position on that. Look, guys, I could tell you I received at least 6, 7, maybe even more starts because the other guy didn't want to play that particular game, whether the opponent was too difficult, a challenge that was maybe the team felt was insurmountable, so throw me in. But there's reasons why certain nights guys aren't going. The Ullmark thing, we touched on it the last time we spoke. It's fascinating because there are red flags everywhere, but he's a Ferrari. And you have to keep that in mind. It's over the last 2 years, he's the second highest performing goalie in expected goals. He is a Ferrari, but do you want a Ferrari if you've got a family of 6? You don't, right? It doesn't always work. Here are the red flags. And I heard from, people in Boston, it took a long time for the room to accept him. He's different. It didn't work for him in Buffalo. And keep in mind, when he left Buffalo, he left in free agency and they let him walk. And there was a lot of noise around that. Why would you let somebody like that go? Back at the time, I remember seeing his numbers being, reflecting that he was a top 10 goalie in the NHL before he popped. Now, here's red flag, because if you've got a really strong room in Boston and they were able to align him with the team's goals, does Ottawa have a strong room like Boston had to be able to control this guy? Because he's going to have a lot of one-day offs, a lot of one-game offs. And those are tough for guys to swallow in the room when they're playing banged up. And you guys know the only time you're ever really healthy is day 1 of the season, day 1 of training camp, and then you're always dealing with something. So I think 2 things are going to happen. I think it's going to drive Travis Green nuts, and I think the media is going to end up eating him alive. And that's going to be because there's going to be too many ghostly disappearances. And you can even go to the postseason. They're up 3-1 against Florida a couple of years ago after winning 65 games, and they can't trust him for game 7. So that's one. You can go to the last 10 years that he's played professional hockey, including the Swedish Elite League. He's never had a save percentage in the postseason over 90, but he's an elite talent. And you can see the rub there, the pull. You want to have him in your lineup, you love him, but man, is he going to be there to get us through? And we haven't seen any evidence of that yet.
That's fascinating. I mean, it's great for Ottawa fans. I feel like if he's good, if he's this Ferrari, then they're going to put up with having to cram the luggage into the back seat a little bit for the family of 6. As long as he's good, they're going to make it work. But that is the important part if he's good. Can the other two be good enough? Between Forsberg and Søgaard, is there enough to help him out and get them wins if he's only going to play, 40 some times?
I'm going to say yes, because I can go back as far as 3 years ago. I received a lot of calls that summer when Forsberg was going into UFA, and he was a top guy 3 years ago before he really landed and stuck his game in Ottawa. And the thing about backup goalies, just remind yourself of this. If you get 25 points from your group of backups, whether it's 2, 3, or 4 guys, you should get in the postseason with a decent starter. And he's an elite starter that doesn't always want to play. That's what you have there. You've got an elite starter that doesn't always want to play unless he's 100%. And that can be frustrating. And Kyper, you remember when Hasek used to have that reputation? He didn't want to play unless he was 100%. That was what we always heard. And I feel like he's just that guy. And that's tough to deal with, because if you want to be a starter, you're going to have to play hurt at certain points. You don't have to play injured, but you've got to play hurt.
We're joined by Steve Valiquette. I want to get into this as you described it as a ghostly disappearance, because I find it absolutely fascinating. You had mentioned just moments ago about maybe 5 or 7 extra starts because maybe it could have been the opponent that the other goalie wasn't very comfortable with. I assume that.
Want me to give you a story, Kyper?
Well, hold on. Okay, I just want to get my point across. That's an assumption, and I'm just asking you, if you really feel strongly about that, what did that do to your relationship with him? And what did that do to the rest of the team? Because we had a conversation last week about Joseph Woll, and if the players, my point of view was if the players stop trusting somebody, especially a goalie, man, that room's in big trouble.
Well, that's why I'm referring to, what does what does Ottawa have? Do they have within the walls of that room the same character that, don't forget, when Ullmark goes to Boston, he's got his first year, he's got Krejci, he's got Bergeron, he's got Chara. I mean, that's the strongest room in the league at that point. And what do they have in Ottawa? Ottawa is just going to have to know that you're dealing with a very sensitive individual that's high skill, high talent, elite goaltender that just wants to play the games when he's feeling the right way. And you're going to have to live with that if you want to get in. And you're going to have to get 25, probably more. You might have to get 35 points from your backups if he's going to have nights off that he wants to spot. You know, look, I'll tell you, one of my call-ups from Hartford to the Rangers, it was a call from Jim Schoenfeld. He brings me in his office and he said, "Hey, Valley, I got good news and bad news." I'm like, "All right, Shoney, what do you got?" He goes, "Well, you want the good news or bad news?" I said, "Okay, just give me the good news." He's like, "You got called up." I'm like, "Well, what's the bad news?" He goes, "You're playing against Philadelphia and the Rangers haven't won there in the last 8 tries. I'm like, "Okay, great." You know, so I'm getting into this game in Philadelphia. And by the time I arrive in New York, I find the goalies that are there at the time, they could have played. They were just a little bit shy on this game, right? But, you know, whether you're a guy that's only playing 10 games a season or a call-up, any game's a good game, right? So you got to give your, you know what's a squeeze and find out what you're made of. And I'll never forget getting on the train ride because we took the train from Penn Station to Philadelphia for this afternoon game. And I remember listening to Elton John, Philadelphia Freedom the whole time, just pumping myself up, you know, because what am I going to do? Am I going to go in there and lay an egg or am I going to get pumped up? And I remember the first shot of the game. Now, I walk in this locker room, okay, guys, it's Mark Recchi, John LeClaire, it is Jeremy Roenick, it is EA Sports, like 94 All-Star team. And I'm like, yeah, I'm crapping my pants. I'm like, oh my God, this is an enormous game for me. And I just got to keep it as close as I can for as long as I can. Now, first shot of the game, I'll never forget it. And Kyper, you might remember John LeClaire's stick. His stick was weird curve.
Yes.
And I remember looking crazy. You've seen it, Bourne?
Yeah, you know, I was at Daryl Sutter's ranch this summer, and I got to see he has one of them, and you got to see this thing. You can't tell which hand it is. It goes both ways.
So how about this one? The first shot of the game is coming from the point, and I'm looking to my right to see where the possible deflection might be coming from, and it's LeClaire's stick. And I took like a longer look than I should have at it. I'm like, what is that? You know? I got back to the point. It hits the post. I could have got scored on the first shot of the game because I'm distracted on a guy's blade.
Yeah. It's
Long
funny.
story short is we end up winning that game, and I get on the train on the way back, and I'm looking at myself, the reflection in the glass, and I'm like, how the F did you do that? You know, like it was that kind of emotion. But I think that's why you just got to play the game, because on the other side of that fear is freedom. And in that case, it's Philadelphia freedom.
Love that. I like that on the other side of the fear is freedom. I think that relates to a lot of guys getting their opportunities in the NHL. I do want to ask about one other guy, but I want to go to Stu Skinner in Edmonton and get your thoughts on him as a goaltender generally. I thought this was going to be a huge year for him. Had that playoff run, big guy, felt like he would be full of confidence and this is going to be his season. What do you see from him? What do you expect from him?
Yeah, this is a really good conversation to have, Bourne, because we had 4 data scientists looking at all of our data this year. I really wanted to get to understand hockey better.
Yeah.
And over the past decade, we've identified now 3 predictors that lead to Stanley Cup success. You have to have strong special teams, you have to have settled offense at 5-on-5, and you've got to have a strong odd man rush. And that's for and against, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Edmonton, very good at denying odd man rushes. They don't give up a lot. They had a really good season last year at not allowing odd man rushes.
Yep.
But the goalie in the NHL that allowed the most odd man rushes last year, 46 goals, was Stuart Skinner. The goalie that gave up the most rush goals, period, on the entire season, even including even man rushes, was Skinner. And I've got the numbers right here. It was 59 goals total rush.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So when you're trying to break down your game and now you're looking at settled offensive zone 5-on-5 play, you're looking at dots down offense and defense, net front offense and defense, east to west offense and defense, and then the odd man rushes. So those will be the 4 key cogs to being able to have success for and against. The area that Stuart Skinner really struggles with is the east to west game, whether it's at 5-on-5 in zone or off the rush. His movement side to side is, to be fair, and it's tough to say, right? Because you're talking about the top 64 guys in the league, you know, but he's the worst of those 64. Wow. The nicest way to put it is He lacks confidence. And he doesn't get east to west well. And I wonder if he doesn't get to east to west well enough to play all the way through and get them all the way through. Now, here's the caveat to that. The Florida Panthers last year, they were 32nd in the league in odd man rushes. They never went for it, odd mans. There's many clips of them where they could have had 3-on-2s and they choose to get it in deep, have possession, lug it down low, play it up and down the wall, go from low to high. And that just happened to be their opponent in the Stanley Cup final. And I wonder, can you get through? What if you're playing Colorado with full cylinders? And what if you're playing against a really good team off the rush? That might be a mismatch for the Oilers if Skinner's your goalie going through.
So I look at this blue line right now with the Oilers, and it reminds me I was a bigger Cody Ceci fan than I thought when I look at, just the overall feel. And I'm wondering if Skinner may feel the same way in terms of, did my blue line get a little worse here in a short period of time? And where does that play in for a goaltender, Valley, when you feel like, it may not be what I thought it was? And, I'll even throw in Broberg because he didn't play a ton at the end, but he played in every game, if I'm not mistaken, against the Florida Panthers and averaged 16 or 17 minutes. And I'm watching today going, Broberg would actually look pretty good right now on that hockey
Broberg,
club.
all gone, yeah.
You know what it is, Kyper? It's at the beginning of the season, in the first 3 weeks, you establish a lot of trust between the way team defense is working with its goalie. It can unravel if the goalie's getting beat on clear shots from distance because now your defense is running out of position in week 4 and 5 to try and take away that shot and kill the play away from your net when it should be your goalie's puck. And now you give up the big east-west, right? So we had a game Saturday night against Utah. Utah, by the way, looks really legit this year. They are a team. They have a team concept. They are in zone and they're buzzing. 5 guys connected. And they had 4 of their 5 goals were east to west on Shesterkin. But out of their 7 high danger chances total in the game, 6 were with time and space. Time and space is the accelerator on every scoring chance. So you've heard me talk about the east to west that goes below the hash. That's the play that ends up in the net more than any other scoring chance in the NHL every season. Okay, one every 3 times. But the accelerator is when the receiver has time and space. There isn't anybody within a stick length. And if you go and watch those Utah goals, guys had time and space. Now, goal number 3 on Shesterkin is a clear-sighted shot. And he gets beat because he's backing up in his crease now to protect himself against another east to west. And he's concerned with what's happening in the environment in front of him because the goalie can only receive the play. He can't have and dictate anything else other than his positioning based on what he believes his players are doing in front of him. But then he gives up the bad one. He gives up the clear-sighted shot. And it's from 35 feet. It should be something that he has, but it's in his head. And when we're looking at the accelerator on the time and space to an east to west play, it's like an extra 20% on your scoring chance. That's enormous. Right. So instead of having like a 30% chance to score, you're getting into like the 47 to 53 range, depending on the seam. And those can feel like, and I'm sitting there with Henrik Lundqvist, who, he's as great as any goalie that's ever played in the NHL. And he's like, I want to fault him because of the number against, but let's be honest. I don't know which one of those he should have had. And that's the way they look. They look like you don't even have a chance. And I never like to say that because it's always full responsibility, have an opportunity to make a save, always find a way. But on the time and space chances that are east to west, you can imagine if you play for the wrong team in the NHL, you can be out of the league quick. That you can really look bad because your entire game can unravel. And the same thing goes for the D. If your goalie's not stopping the clear-sighted shot, then you're going to be taking away more opportunity to give up more east-west if you're overextended.
Yeah, it is interesting how different goalies look in front of different or behind different teams. I asked you about the backups in Ottawa, and you'd mentioned liking Forsberg. Let's go to Vancouver. and ask you about those two guys, Shelovs and Lankinen. Lankinen's a guy I've kind of sneaky liked for a couple of years. Of course, I don't know goalies all that well, but he's had a good save percentage for a couple of years in Nashville. Looked good in his first start with the Canucks. What are your thoughts on their two backup options?
You guys are familiar with Kevin Woodley. You've had him on your program before. He's one of the guys that I give full access to our database so that he can always talk about it on his In Goal podcast. He does an excellent job. He and I were speaking this week, and he said Lankinen is finally proving your data right because it's been 3 years now. He's been really positive, and he's the next guy to pop. And look, there was a time that Ullmark was positioned the same way. I feel the same way about Lankinen. He's one of those guys in the weeds that really can pop, and he's got the right insulation with the goalie development group in Vancouver. I'm very positive on him. I think he can do a great job. Shelovs, I think it's just a matter of too much too soon sometimes. I'm a big believer in 200 games in the minors, guys. I really think he needed as a goalie, and he hasn't quite had that. It's a combination of minor leagues and games in Europe, any combination of that. And I bring this back to Henrik again. Like, Lundqvist played 236 games in Europe before he ever stepped foot on Madison Square Garden ice.
Right.
You know, it's not just a mystery to me why it was easy for him to segue into a career.
Just one more for me, and Montalban got off to a good start, but then I'm watching the first 3 goals last night against Pittsburgh, and they're all under the bar, and it just seems to me that at least last night it's either hit or miss with this guy. He's either on his knees and they're going underneath the bar over his glove, or he's finding a way to stop him. But, I mean, is all shooters now for me, it's right under the bar. On all of them, it just seems like it's just destined that these guys are going to go down. They're going to come out. They're going to try to be as big as they are. But man, oh man, I'm just seeing so many go high glove.
So you know what I think it is, Kyper? A lot of goalies don't know how to differentiate what save selection to use if the shot is dots down versus dots up. Dots up, it's distance to react. So reactionary glove save would look like this. Just go north with it, right? Sometimes you'll see guys take this path and you're late because you get handcuffed right over your shoulder. And so if it's dots towards the blue line, you've got to go fingers up and just go north with your glove. And it covers it. You can see it. I've done it old school where you take the ropes from the crossbar, bring it right down to the release. You can see it's really not the vertical angle. If you cut it in front of you, you have a very good chance to just take it away before it even gets on top of you. Now, if it's dots down, that's where you have to go into what is a chicken wing. So your elbow comes all the way up and you're able to eliminate the part of the net that's right at your ear with your shoulder and your elbow. And Stolarz makes that save well. By the way, Stolarz, I'm really impressed with. But back to Montembeault, I don't know the answer to this, and I'm going to have to get to the bottom of it. But physically, I don't feel like he's able to go games in a row at a high level. I think he's elite as a goalie because when he's on, he's really, really good. But I don't know if he has the physical ability to carry himself for like 7 games and without having dips like that. And I think it's hard for him on the recovery side. And he just kind of looks like it. He kind of got the baby face, a little bit chubby in the face. And reminds me of me when I was in Sudbury. You know? But Stolarz, I've been impressed with him, guys.
I was just going to ask you about him.
You know what, Bourne? If I go through Canada right now, as many question marks as you guys may have about your net, what net's better in Canada? And I don't say Winnipeg with Hellebuck too, because he thinks he played great in the playoffs last year. That scares me. You know,
it is a strange comment. Yeah,
it's the strangest comment I've ever heard. I'm like, what? And he was the worst performing goalie in the playoffs last year. And I think he's a great goalie, but I don't like that feel. It gives me an uneasy feeling going into the playoffs this year. But Stolarz, man, is he big. So he expands his size in the net. He looks maximum size and still with posture that he can move on save. And what I've really liked with him is that his footwork, he plays deep because he's not fast. He's not explosive, but he takes a short path. And here's the important thing for me when I watch him. On all of the plays that are going downhill towards the net, he uses a double shuffle. So he's got his toe cap square the whole way through the pass. So that's really important because he's not opening up as a big guy and then having to close it back up. And east to west, he's also using a double shuffle. And then from the low to high stuff, from below the goal line out to slot, he's more of a T-push, which still gets him to advance to top of crease. But I think you're good. You're good. You're very solid in net. If, of course, Woll can get healthy and stay healthy. But I made a few calls on that this week and a little disappointing. I guess he's just always been hurt. This goes back to when he was young, and I don't want to hear that. It's going to be really hard to keep this guy healthy.
You ruined me last week when you started telling me about goalies' mindsets. Now I can't watch a goalie without thinking, I wonder what he thinks of himself right now. Does he think he's a good backup goalie, or does he really believe he can be a starter?
Yeah.
So
hey, just remember this, Kyper. You can't fail if you don't play.
There you go.
A lot of guys don't want to play. They want to keep the stats. They want to.
Right.
Hey, by the way, let me cut you off for one more second. Kyper, when you go out and score, you had 62 goals, I think, as junior. I heard Sammy get corrected the other day. So would you ever lose one of those if you had a bad game? Would you lose 2 goals if you were a -2 a specific night? No, you don't. But guess what you lose in the NHL? You lose your save percentage.
Yeah.
You build it up to 930. So sometimes you want to avoid a game here and there.
Yeah.
I don't like the way the guys are looking right now. I think I've got a groin. I think my groin's going.
So a guy like Stolarz, in the NHL for maybe 6 years now, but multiple teams, including Anaheim and Philly, and Florida, of course. Now at age 30, is there a thought process that he could be ready to truly challenge, or is he more comfortable saying, you brought me in to be a good support guy, that's where I'm comfortable at, and that's it? Or is there a real opportunity for him in the later stages of development to say, now's my time?
I'm saying yes. Kyper. I think the last time we were on, I mentioned that when I was working at Quinnipiac, he was Miami of Ohio before he went to London. So I'm really sure. I love the way now, as long as he can keep it going with the pressure and the pressure cooker that is Toronto. I love the way he looks. Hey, before we finish up, Bourne, remember when you were saying a few shows ago about John Tavares taking those long, clear-sighted shots and they really get you going?
Yes.
Because, I looked it up for you.
Okay, am I right?
Right.
Have I gone mental?
No, you're right there in the wheelhouse. Like, you know what you're watching, right?
Yes.
You're watching the game and you're like, I've seen that before. I've seen it. So, okay, Tavares, over the last 2 years, 149 of those shots that you don't like. How many do you think resulted in a goal?
4?
1.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
They're
but you know
just
what?
giveaways.
Rally killers.
I know. Their change of possession. It's a rally killer. It's you're playing catch with your old man in the backyard, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
But,
listen.
Thank you for that. That is very validating.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know
why
if
I'm
you-
here, boys. I'm listening, and I'm going to come in and be.
I'm squeezing everything I can because I love
the man go.
Vili Husso cleared waivers. What does that do to him? What does that do to the organization? Is that just clearly a miss of pulling him out of St. Louis by Stevie Yzerman?
You know what I heard before Vili joined Detroit was that you got to stay on this guy. If you can ride him every day, he's just one of those guys you got to ride every day. You have to be hard on him. You got to push him. You've got to. And now at that time, Detroit was getting a new goalie coach, a rookie goalie coach. And I had heard that might not be the best fit for the goalie because when you're a rookie goalie coach, I've been a rookie goalie coach, you want to be liked. You want to be respected and liked, but you really want to be liked. And you want the guys to know you care about them, but you don't want to push too hard because you don't want to lose somebody. And there's a delicate balance because when you think about the game, fellas, you've got your head coach, your assistant coach, 2-3 of them for 23 guys, but you have one goalie coach for 2 guys. You spend a lot of time with him one-on-one. And I wonder if Detroit just wasn't able to push him enough, and he needed more. He needed the whip every day, not the carrot. And I just think that this guy was legit 4 years ago. Legit.
Yeah.
When he was in St. Louis, legit. And I think he just let his game get away from him because he settled into a big deal and took his foot off the gas and let his guard down.
How do you think I got Justin and Sammy on this show going?
All whips every day.
Every day.
That's how we operate.
Every day.
Yeah.
Valley, great stuff as always, man. Fascinating insight in what you've seen so far between the pipes.
Yeah, thanks, Valley.
This season.
Appreciate it, man.
Great job,
Hey,
pal.
boys. Before I go, all right, at Valley's View on Twitter, I'm going to post every single morning after game is played, a game scoring chances report from Clearsight Analytics so fans can follow. And I put the first 3 up today just to get it started because I don't know if you guys announced, but I'm looking to join you guys every Tuesday.
Yeah,
All right.
that's at Valley's View. Is that right on Twitter?
Valley's View.
All right, boys.
All right, buddy.
Great
Appreciate it.
being
We're
with you.
looking forward to it. Thanks so much, man.
All right.
Anytime.
God, he's good. Is he gone? I don't want to say that in front of him.
It just makes me feel unprepared about my own work.
There's so much there, but I can't get over John LeClair's stick.
Have you looked it
I
up?
just looked at it.
I got a picture on my phone. It's insanity.
I actually had to Google if he shoots left or right
I know.
because he could shoot either way. Like I can't tell which way he shoots, and he shoots left. But it looks like it could be a right-handed stick or a left-handed stick. How do you have any idea what he's going to do? It's out of this world. How'd you play with that?
How'd you shoot the
Top
hockey
scoring
puck?
left winger.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
I mean, honestly, people, Google John LeClair curve. This is not some weird thing to get you to some weird page.
Easy.
Select
John
images on that.
John LeClair's curve.
All right. Well, everybody Googles John LeClair's stick. Are we going to break or are we?
Yeah, let's hit the break.
Let's hit the break.
Let's hit the break.
When we come back, Sammy's game time and a few NHL news and notes, including what we thought of the fight in Buffalo's practice the other day. Let's follow that
back
up
in time?
a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Can we
Okay.
follow that up a little bit?
Yep.
That and more when we return. Real Kyper and Bourne. Final block. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Before we get into some news and notes, including a very humbling comment from Cale Makar after last night's Avs loss. Let's get a little game time, Sammy.
It's game time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Few things I got for tonight. New Jersey Devils in Carolina. I think the second half of back-to-back. They played yesterday afternoon against the Utah Hockey Club, and I think they beat them, shut them out. So the Devils are pretty big underdogs in the second half of back-to-back. Jake Allen went yesterday, got the shutout. I would imagine that they'd go back with Markstrom today. Plus 140 for the Devils against
One of those
Carolina
teams you
Hurricane.
ever get them plus. It's kind of tempting.
I don't love Carolina's team this year, and I feel like they're still a little bit overvalued by the books. So give me the Devils as a plus 140 underdog in that game tonight. The big one, the must-win game, like I said. Boy,
Or else what?
I
Or
got
else what?
a couple texts on the text line offended by that. And
Well, what happens if they lose? You're
They're
going to miss
0-4,
playoffs. They're going
maybe.
to trade. Like, nothing's happening.
okay.
They're fine.
Anyways, the Philadelphia Flyers are plus 175 versus the Edmonton Oilers at minus 210. Since it's a must-win, they're going to win by a lot. Oilers minus a goal and a half is plus 125. They got to win by 2. I think there's a good chance that they do that tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers.
You just can't go 2 years in a row of digging yourself in a hole. That's all.
But
That's why it's must win.
But or what?
Stop it, Sammy.
Like,
no, there is
or
no
what?
or what.
Yeah.
Or you just
You suck
You
even
just
more.
Do it
You
again,
just-
and then you
yeah,
dig
you
out
just-
again, and then you
bring a lot of agony to your.
and then you play the Kings in the first round, and you dust them in 5, and then you do your thing again.
Or you
Miss the playoffs.
you faced Vegas in the first round,
That's bad.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Like
True.
like-
Or you face, or Vancouver. Who
they
the-
weren't that far off from facing Vegas in the first round, if I'm not mistaken.
weren't. It was
Last
close.
season,
Yeah.
it was close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So-
the last day of the year. It could change. The Kings jumped up there. I
You know,
forget how it
yeah.
happened, but it did.
Like that's the fine line of the
Yeah.
regular season.
No, I'd
So,
like to clarify. Losing's not good.
It could have been.
Ovechkin moving to the right wing tonight. I don't know if you saw that.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, he's moving to the right wing.
Imagine being the coach being like, well, this isn't working. Like, it's the most goals in history.
He's moving to the
on
right
left
wing tonight. He's moving to the right wing tonight. Moving to the right wing. He's going to score. My parlay is Ovechkin to score, Stamkos to score, and McDavid to score. The parlay is plus 1145. So over 10 to 1. So there you go.
Reminds me of John Travolta in the movie Grease when he's his gym teacher. Yeah, try track. Track's not for you. Try baseball. Try. I got another sport for you.
Yeah. Right wing.
Try
Yeah.
right wing.
So there you go. Going to right wing tonight. Anyways, that was Game Time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary. Bet365 must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Did you want me to read you the Alex Ovechkin, the little preamble about it? Because I saw this and I may have lost it here. But basically, he had one of his biggest years on the right wing.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So they want to put him back over there.
Who is that? Someone who knows this, talking about this, or looking it up? Because they have historically mislabeled his position.
Oh, right.
On
What was
NHL.com.
what was the thing?
Don't tell anyone. This is between us. But 1 year, the hockey writers voted him as an all-star.
Best left winger?
At left and right wing. I think he got voted in.
Twice.
Yeah, they put in some measures to make sure that can't happen every
There's a few dumb people.
Whoa.
Well, there is. That's just a statistical fact. At least half of us are below average.
Yeah, so Alex Ovechkin has played the left wing for most of his 20 seasons in the NHL and has had great success there. And the 39-year-old, but Ovechkin played right wing during the 2012, 2013, and 2013-2014 seasons when Adam Oates moved him there to take advantage of him playing on his natural side as a right-handed shot. So there you go.
This is Nylander played center at the Marlies. That's what that is to me.
He scored 32
he
scored 32 and 48 and 51 and 78 in the 2 years when he played on the right way. Like, guess what?
Prime Ovechkin scored a lot.
Probably could have put him on D. He would have scored 51. Anyways.
All right.
Your New York Islanders, on the return of Patrick Watt in Colorado, came up with a big win last night.
You know,
I got to think that the Avs are very thankful for Edmonton's slow start.
No
Maybe
kidding.
it takes a little bit of attention away from the fact that Colorado has not looked good at all. 0-3.
And I would love to make this about the Islanders. You know, they get their goals from Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri and everyone else who's older. But this is about the Avs and their defense, and they're giving up a whole ton. It's a legitimate concern at this point. And can we now discuss the Cale Makar thing?
Yeah, we can. So this is arguably one of the greatest starts for any defenseman in the history of the game. He's
like starts to a career.
Starts to a career.
Not to the season, but to the start of his career.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Correct. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
On track to be one of the best of all time.
All time.
Norris says his first year as like a rookie, he came in and like impacted the game in playoffs.
Unbelievable.
Immediately. He's my favorite. Yeah. Maybe my favorite player in the league.
Which makes this quote that he had last night even more perplexing.
Let's have it.
A lot of myself, just not moving my feet, not playing my game, and just kind of where it's at right now. So, I mean, I'm hard on myself, but at the end of the day, I got to be better for these guys. It's definitely a lot closer game if I don't play tonight. So,
a lot closer of a game if I don't play.
It's like George Bailey.
Come on.
Everyone would be better off if I was never born. You know, it's like easy
what
on
is
the drama.
going on?
Like you're important. You're very good. You had a tough night.
Wow.
Yeah.
That gives you a sense of how hard he is on himself.
That's incredible.
I can't
mindset,
ever imagine Bobby Orr saying after a Bruins game, yeah, we would have had a better chance if I didn't play tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, that it almost feels too strong. You know, like you hope it's tough to get through 82 games with expectations on yourself so high that you can't have a bad night without giving yourself a beating like that. Jeez.
But it is kind of refreshing that they're human too.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the Avs decor, looking at the third pair of Sam Malinsky and John Ludwig, you know, all of them. Yep. Shillington has not exactly been a defensive stalwart over his career. Sam Girard's not a defender, a pure defender. So if Makar isn't defending and Manson's not great, you know, you can see how they're giving up some grade A chances. And you guys mentioned Gorgiev and
Taves out.
Annunen not.
Yeah. Right? Taves out. Yeah. So doesn't help at all. But like they're in a bit of a pickle here. And
tough division to go on a slide.
And you can't fill in Landeskog's $7 million either, because on the thought that he may return by November, December to try this knee out, you have to have that money open and ready to absorb his contract.
And do we know, I'm just trying to find when Nichushkin's suspension, when it ends, 6 months. So it could be, I mean, at some point here in the next month or two, I imagine he'll be available to them.
But it's a crapshoot whether or not, you know, he's going to be fully there for you, that you can trust that he's going to stay. He won't disappear again on you. He won't fall off. So, like, it's going to be really hard.
Yeah. This Avalanche team has some tough decisions to be made and has their hands tied a little bit. And in a division where Dallas is so good, Nashville's gotten stronger, the Jets are off to a good start. Like the Oilers, I'm like, they're fine. But mostly because it's like, you know they're better
They
than...
have to play the Sharks a bunch.
Yeah, you're better than the Sharks. You're better than Anaheim. You're better than Calgary. Like, you just get handed X amount of wins in the Pacific if you're halfway good. So, yeah, more concerned about the Avs, I would say.
Where's the concern on the Detroit Red Wings also? Because Derek Lalonde had a pretty good one there when he was asked about Shesterkin's contract. Do we have that?
We do. Let's play it.
Nope,
go ahead.
This wasn't a complete goalie. Right. I mean, they cashed in on the power play. There's more we definitely could have done, but obviously he was a really, really big difference in it, and he's special. I can see why he turned down the 88. Right. He's a good agent.
I can see why he turned down $88 million.
Yeah.
Good agent.
What are the Red Wings?
The Red Wings they're within 12 months of firing Steve Yzerman if it doesn't turn around, right? They would have missed playoffs 6 straight years. Not sure how many of those he's been there for, 4 or 5. But you can sell a slow, patient rebuild, but there's not even really glimpses of them being better than the other teams who are turning around.
Not good.
I think there might be a chance that you could fire the guy that we just heard from before.
Yeah.
Steve feels that heat.
I mean, the best players on the team.
With all due respect, I know it was kind of funny, but your training camp and the start of your season isn't funny. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I'd be cracking jokes about Shesterkin's contract or having a really good agent.
You think he's not in a position to be making jokes?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
He's auditioning for Hockey Night in Canada again.
He doesn't need to audition.
Getting the jokes.
To me, this is a GM thing where it's like the top of that team is Raymond and Seider, who have not, they both signed 8-year deals and neither have really proved, they're very good players and they're very young, but, they're not, Matthews, McDavid, Makar, McKinnon, difference makers. And then it's Larkin and DeBrincat. Like, they just don't have a lot to me for a long rebuild here. Hall and Kane, Sherratt, and this old Petrie. It's just, that team to me it ain't good.
Well, it ain't. Well, it's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a couple buddies who are diehard Red Wings fans, and
if you look at the Atlantic Division between Buffalo, Ottawa, and Detroit, there was a real sense that somebody's stepping up here. But I mean, I don't want to make too much of a crazy game yesterday by the Ottawa Senators, but
they can score.
They can, and Norris has been good, and Sanderson looks like he could become really, really good. But I don't know. Is there a sense that they're ready now?
I don't know. Maybe that's why the Buffalo Sabres are punching each other's faces in at practice.
Yeah, they're like, it's the time is now.
They're pissed off, and it's a slow start. So, anyways,
just on that note, I know we had a back and forth there, but I don't know if you caught Darlene's comments after. Where
what did he say?
He apologized, and
he shouldn't have done that.
He says he shouldn't have done it, and that was bad by me. And I think it was perfect.
Yeah,
I think he had to say that.
He didn't
it's the right thing to say.
Sticking up for myself, he shouldn't have.
No, not as the leader of this group. So I got to think that it's okay. Like once you're, once a guy like that at that status, with that salary and the C on his jersey can admit a mistake, then it's got a better chance to put it behind you.
Yeah, to me, that's being the bigger man, where it's like we can continue to have this contest, whatever. I don't know.
But it doesn't take the pressure off of Kevin Adams, I can tell you that.
No, they need to win.
Yeah. They need to, that market needs
These
for the
are
team
all
to be competitive.
tough markets, because Detroit's a good hockey market. Ottawa here has got a growing and serious base, so fascinating to keep an eye on. I did want to mention tonight, Columbus has their home opener. They're playing the Florida Panthers. The Panthers are all wearing Gaudreau jerseys, and tonight they're all entering with purple Gatorade and Skittles. which was led by Matthew Tkachuk. Sam Bennett pointed that out as, they had played with him in Calgary and knew that was something that Gaudreau loved. Seeing the images of Florida's dressing room, I visibly shook, just like had little shudders, just like I can't watch a lot of the tributes to Gaudreau. It's just having a young family myself. I can't wrap my head around this tragedy and how awful, sickening this is. So just on behalf of our show that we're thinking, of them, hopefully it's a special night for Columbus and their fans. They deserve that. And good for Florida for doing their part.
Gaudreau's father taking the ice with the Blue Jackets, which is like really nice to see.
Yeah.
Chuck,
that connection.
he put out a statement because he's banged up, so he's not going to be there tonight in Columbus. And I could read the statement here. He said, unfortunately, I won't be there tonight in Columbus. Johnny was a huge part of the hockey community to me. He was much more than that. A great friend, a teammate, a family man. Not a day goes by without me thinking about Johnny and Matthew. This is the biggest thing I'm going to miss about tonight, is not being able to see Meredith, Noah, little Johnny guy, and Jane. Would love to give them all big hugs. Johnny will be my teammate forever. So really classy touch by Tkachuk, who's obviously not there, put out the statement, the Gatorade and Skittle thing. It's still hard to believe that, it's really hard to wrap your mind around. So.
Yeah. And for a team like Columbus, who, their aspirations this year are not the playoffs, realistically, with the lineup they have.
Like I said, 9 games on tap. Pick your favorite one, and then join us again tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. If you get a chance, download us, give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great night, everybody.